Hi, I'm Kapal. I'm a healer from London and out here in Mazunte in Mexico on the Pacific coast. It's a beautiful sunny day, it's about 30 degrees, it's been pretty hot. And in the shade of the afternoon earlier on, having met this young lass yesterday, she asked me for a tarot reading. And I found the whole thing very exciting and interesting. And so for the purpose of having a deeper understanding of tarot, it might be a beautiful thing to share. So I took a photo of the reading, and I've got the reading on my other phone. And I'll walk through the reading with you and show you what we came up with. She asked a very interesting question. She was at an interesting stage of her life. Let's give her a name. It'll not be her real name, just to protect the innocent, as it were. We'll call her Marie. Marie's 27, and she just decided that she wasn't going to study in university the course that she planned to in editing. She felt that it wasn't the right thing for her anymore, wanted to do something different with her life. She got a job doing some teaching English to refugees from places like Syria in her country. She lives in Holland. And she found that to be something much more in alignment with her heart, let's say. But she was traveling for a few months. She's out here for, I think, another 3 months in Mexico. And was faced with an interesting kind of dilemma, I guess. There was parts of her trip here, moments where she felt a little anxiety. She'd always, her whole life, been keeping to a timetable of one form or another. School timetable, college, university, very strict discipline in terms of what she had to do when. This was the first time in her life, really, she had no structure. No obligation to be anywhere at any particular time, and sometimes that felt really good for her, and other times there was a feeling of kind of anxiety, and it led her to really question herself. And she came to the tarot with a very interesting question, which was, who am I without a goal? And I thought that was an amazing question to ask a tarot. So we shuffled the cards, we laid out a classic Celtic cross spread, and started to read, answering her question. The card in the center of the cross, the significator, the card that represented her, was the it was the Seven of Cups, to which I represented that. I recognized that to represent her in her current position in life, faced with many options, many choices. Some of those choices clearly not the right thing to do. Essentially, the university degree. Some of the choices looked very attractive. Some of them had not yet been revealed to her yet, but she was there at a crossroads, if you like, faced with many, many options. The card that was crossing her was the Queen of Cups, and I spoke a little bit about what the Queen of Cups represents as a person, and I explained how it represented a person, usually a woman, someone who's very compassionate, very understanding, who is an empath, someone who could really feel what other people feel, someone who people would speak to, someone who would people would go to offload their problems, to share their problems, and to gain counsel. Someone who's very trustworthy, someone who people who would come to them would feel very comfortable in their company. And I asked her, does this resonate with you in any way? I mean, do you feel what people feel? And she said, yes, I do. I'm in a room and someone is going through something and I feel what they're going through, or someone tells me their problems and I feel those problems very deeply in my being. So she recognized that she is an empath. So we looked on the card at the bottom of the cross, which represents kind of the foundation of the situation, is the Four of Cups, and then above the desired direction of travel was the Four of Cups, and which I thought that was very interesting because the two cards are very, very similar, but there is a difference, and particularly in light of where they're placed in the reading. The card at the bottom down here, the Five of Cups, there's a figure standing in the card, and there's 3 cups in front that have been knocked over. And you can see the liquid spilling out onto the floor. And then behind the person, 2 cups standing up, presumably full of something. And the way I interpreted this was that there are many things in your life that have been painful, but things that you feel that you've lost or missed out on. And those things are gone, they're in the past. But what you've gained from those experiences is something that is very real and it's very tangible and it's there. Hence the 2 cups behind you, which are full, but the focus is on the things that are lost, which is quite normal. People go through traumas in their lives and they focus on the things that they've lost and they cry for lament for that's lost. That's quite normal. However, the things that are lost, but the things that are gained from the past still have, i.e. the 2 cups that are behind her. And the cups had spilled in the painting on the card, and there was a river just beyond where the cups had spilled, and the river was flowing in this direction. And I said that the rivers, generally waters in tarot, represent emotions, as do the cups. And I'm saying that as things flow, as time flows and carries things away, the banks of the river are not attached to the waters. They just hold space and allow them to flow. So in a sense that you hold space for your experience, but you allow them to go, and you don't hold on to things from the past, which would cause you to be in a state of sadness. You could focus instead on what you've gained from that, i.e. the other 2 cups, which seems less than what you've lost, but what you've lost is gone, and what you've gained you still have, so it's more. And then we spoke about the next card, the 4 of Cups. Is it the 4? Yeah, the 4 of Cups. You've got this chap sitting in the foreground of the card underneath a tree with 3 cups sitting there in front of him. And he's kind of looking at these cups like kind of really not impressed with what he has. Because of this kind of blinkered attitude of lack of appreciation for what he has, he's not able to see a hand issuing from the clouds with another full chalice of something very special, a divine gift that the hand is issuing from a cloud. So it's like kind of has this kind of quality of this divine gift which is being given, but this person doesn't appreciate that because he's very kind of narrowly looking at what he has in a kind of ungrateful state. I'm not saying that she was in a state of being ungrateful. What I was saying is that by having a kind of paradigm shift and being very grateful for all the experiences of the past, the things that have been lost in the previous card, and seeing the blessings from all of those things, would be able then, having this much more open-minded state of being, be more receptive to receiving the gifts that are being presented to her by the divine. That really resonated with her. So then we came to the card over this side of the cross. It was the Empress. In this position, it was representing the energy of the past that has brought her to this place. And I looked at it and I was trying to figure out what this could kind of mean. And what came to me in this moment was the Empress card can very often represent the divine feminine or the divine mother. And I was talking to her as an empath and explaining how many beings, if you like, spirits, have come to this earth in order to be of service to the divine Mother Earth, in order to help the uplifting of the consciousness of humanity by way of helping to purify our past life karma. And many beings, many spirits have come incarnated into families of humans on earth in order to cut the procession of pain and trauma that's passed down from generation to generation to generation, lifetime after lifetime. Just to kind of paint that picture a little more broadly, you can imagine someone growing up in a family with parents doing the best they can, but because they didn't have perfect parents who potentially grew up in times of war, let's say, had many traumas in their life, pass down the pain that they learned as a child onto their children in their parenting skills. And as we see, this things get passed down from generation to generation. Explaining how at this time, the buck stops with us, with our generation. No longer do we pass down the pain from our parents' conditioned consciousness to our children, because we're able to be in a more enlightened state of being in this time. Because of various energies in the solar system, if you like, influences from the cosmos that allow us to be in more the light, like that. So I was feeling from her reading that she has come to this world, this life, this body, this planet, in order to be of service to the Divine Mother. That also struck a chord with her, and Marie really resonated with that. The next card that was on this side of the cross, representing the influences of the future that we're coming into, was the Three of Swords, which is not a pleasant looking card. It's a heart with three swords piercing at different angles, often associated with heartbreak, with pain, with unpleasant emotions. And what my feeling was for this card in this position was that the work that she was doing was to go into these pains and these traumas that people have, in order to help them with their processing and with their releasing of their pain and their suffering. This is what empaths do. They are able to take on the pain of other people if they're untrained. If they're trained empaths, they can take the pain from somebody else and transform that by lifting it up to the heavens, or to offer it down to the earth, or maybe putting it into a fire or something like that. It's a path of transformation. So again, untrained empath would be someone who just takes on board other people's pains and keeps it inside their body because they don't really know what else to do with it. And there are many people in this world now who are suffering a lot, and it's not actually their pain that they're struggling with, it's other people's pain. They're not necessarily aware of that. When an empath becomes trained, they're able to transmute that pain for other people. So Marie, looking to go into this work, teaching English to Syrian refugees who have gone through terrible hardship and pain and suffering and trauma, to leave the country and come take refuge in another place. And in her position as one of the first people that they really have possibly deep interactions with as their English teacher, but also being an empath, she's really in a position to help people to process and deal with their pain and suffering, which is a very beautiful thing. There's 4 cards that go up the side of the reading, and the first card is the Nine of Wands. That's in the position of where she's at now. And where she's at now is, in terms of relation to the Nine of Wands, having gone through quite a lot of struggle, a lot of hardship, and while she's able to take more on and deal with more, a rest would be a very good thing. And we kind of talked about this a little bit more, and coming down to the kind of finer teachings of this card in this position, in this reading, what we felt was the meaning was that in every single moment there is perfection. And whilst being amongst lots of trauma and trouble and hardship and heartache and pain and all these kind of things, whether it's ours or whether it's somebody else's, in any given moment you can take a breath, and then everything's okay. Everything's actually perfect in this moment. If you think about it now, no matter what else has gone on in your day, sitting here right now watching this video, if you just take a breath, come into the present moment. Nothing from the past can bother you. Nothing from the future is real. There's only this moment. In this moment, everything's perfect. Now, we're in a, somewhat of a holiday resort here. You can see the sea in the background, and people sitting on the beach. People come here for their holidays. And, we spoke about how people go away for, they work all year round, and then 2 weeks a year they go away and they sit on a beach. And there's something magical about beaches. When people sit on the beach, they just, and everything's okay. And people rest, and they enjoy the moment. And everybody remembers moments on the beach because it's just something about the energy of these places where you can just sit and be present and be grateful and be happy in this moment, because nothing else really matters when you're on the beach. But it's not the beach. Okay? It's something to do with the energy of the beach, but we take that with us. We can come into any moment, any present moment with a breath. So the lesson of this card for Marie in this moment was that in any given moment, whatever's going on, the whirlwinds and the tornadoes and the emotional storms around you, in any given moment, you can use your breath as an anchor to realize that everything in this moment is perfect. And then you get the breaks that you need anytime. You don't have to necessarily go on a holiday. You can be in the most intense places and just take a moment to come back to center, to come back to the moment. And that is a very powerful lesson. It's a very powerful blessing to be able to do that. So, moving on. Oh, next card's a good one. It's the Devil card. In this position, second card up on the column, on the what would be the right-hand side of the spread, is how you're seen from outside. And the way I read in this card, if this position, this position, to me represents how you're seen from your higher self's perspective. If you were to, take an angel's eye view of your life, for example, what's actually going on that's perhaps beyond your perception. And the Devil card represents the illusion. And the way I was describing how this card meant for Marie in this case was that the illusion, we spoke about creating our realities as well, and how our beliefs create our reality, and we went into some detail on that, and that was kind of related to this card. And we spoke about how most people in their lives, in the kind of places that she and I come from in Western Europe, we have this kind of beliefs about how our lives ought to go from our conditioning, from our parents, and this is some of the stuff that we were releasing. You go to school, get a good education, get a university, get a great degree so you can get a good job, benefits, and you can afford a nice house, and you pay your mortgage, and you have your holidays every year, and your car, and your family, blah, and people's lives are kind of mapped out in that way. And we spoke about her feelings and how she was given these expectations, and if she didn't meet those expectations of her family, her parents, or her friends, or people in her life, that she kind of felt not quite right. And on the one hand, she didn't want to necessarily live that kind of lifestyle and do those kind of things, but on the other hand, she didn't want to let people down. We spoke about what that was all about. And what that was all about really for her as an empath is feeling other people's disappointment. And we realized that she had this kind of double bind in her mind. On the one hand, she was feeling this disappointment from other people, not wanting to let them down, but at the same time not wanting to do what they wanted to do. The example being when she decided to leave university, her father was really upset, really disappointed, because he had these expectations that this was the right thing to do for her life. But she didn't feel that was the right thing and wanted to do something else. So when she decided to quit uni, it was absolutely the right thing to do. Then when she spoke to her father, and all these doubts started creeping in. But they weren't her doubts, they were his doubts. And all the expectations of the way that she was supposed to live were things that were passed down in this kind of generational succession of expectation and conditioning. And I was explaining how this is the time that we break these cycles. All this condition that's passed down, that's not really based on any kind of higher thinking, it's just based on painful conditioning that is passed down from our past generations. So the Devil card represents the illusion, this is how you're supposed to do it, or that these feelings of doubt that were her father's were hers, because they weren't hers, they were her father's. She was an empath, so she feels that. So the Devil card, you have this couple, and they've got these chains around their necks, but their hands are free. So they're not actually prisoners. They could quite easily take off the chains from around their necks because they're quite loose, put them down, and leave. But they've been there for so long that they become so acclimatized and accustomed to being in the realm of the devil that they've even grown tails and horns. They feel like that's where they're meant to be, and that's what conditioning does. But it's not the reality. She actually has the ability to choose her life, choose the way she wants to live, let go of the conditioning, and decide for herself how to live her life. And her higher self's perspective is that is the illusion, that you're meant to follow this given path that isn't from your own heart, that it's from somebody else. So that was very interesting for her. Next card was the King of Wands. Fascinating. In this position, the position of hopes and fears, the King of Wands is an incredibly powerful being. He sits there on his throne with his magic staff, and he can manifest anything. He can create worlds and realities and make things happen just with the intention and this fire power of creativity that he has. And I suggested to Marie that actually what she fears is her power. She fears that all the things that she can do with her power. What's that speech by Nelson Mandela? It's not our darkness that we fear, it's our light. It's our power, our abilities that are more scary than our darkness and anything else. Because, as Spider-Man's uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility, and she is a very powerful empath. Now, she therefore has the power to take away people's pain. Now, that comes with a lot of responsibility, and that comes with the whole kind of guru complex. Oh, you saved me, and all this kind of stuff. She's not really saving anyone, she's channeling. And I kind of suggested to her that, perhaps a little paradigm shift of, it's not my power, I'm in service to channel this divine power to move this pain out of your pain body and offer it back to the heavens or to the earth. So this paradigm shift of whose power is it anyway? It's actually God's power, it's divine power. I'm not the doer, I'm just the channel, the servant for the divine. It kind of helped a little bit. And the other thing that was, there's perhaps a fear around is about how you can transform somebody's life. If you take away somebody's pain and fill it with light, you could set them on a completely different path. How is that going to affect relationships? How is that going to affect their life in many different ways? Am I going to do that in a responsible way? Am I going to plant feelings in someone that's not actually theirs? Because there's also something empaths can do. And did she feel comfortable with this responsibility of how much of an influence on other people's lives she could have? That was the fear. The hope is that everybody who comes to her for healing receives great benefit and great, upliftment, is able to leave their pain behind and go on and do great things in the world. So I was able to kind of show her this, and she could see both sides of it and decide really, okay, little paradigm shift, I can move away from my fear and move towards creating the scenarios that I want to create for people and help them out in that way. Great. So last card in the spread is the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles is about balance, and it's about balancing what's given to one person versus what's given to another, and about what's given to myself and what I give of my own energy and what I receive back from myself. It's very much about these kind of balances. And, it's possible to find work as an empath to make a living from being an empath, to be a healer. I've done this for many years myself, and many other people are also finding ways that they can work in this way. There's also a lot of stuff about, making money from doing healing work, and there's a lot of issue with people around that. Is it ethical to make money from something spiritual? I'm not going to go into debates about that now. Maybe this could be a subject of a future video, if you like. However, what we were discussing with Marie is how she is able to find the balance between doing her divine work, if you like, this work as an empath, and the work of putting food on her table and making ends meet, and how that kind of fits together. And as we discussed, this working as a teacher of English, or not English, Dutch actually, in Holland, to refugees who have come to the country from places like Syria, she's in a perfect position to work and make a living, make an income, and at the same time, she's got a room full of 20, 30 people who have suffered massive trauma, and she can actually be able to do some work with these people on a maybe a subtle level, or maybe even to the extent of throwing the syllabus out the window and teaching English by discussing all the things that they've gone through, and helping in a very healing capacity in that way. And that was very exciting for Marie. She really liked the idea of that, because it enabled her to be the person who she wants to be, or the person who she's meant to be, yet still follow the things that she felt was her path. And the teaching, language teaching, was very important to her, and also she really resonated very much with working as an empath. And all of these things kind of fitted together really nicely in a beautiful way. And she went away to meditate on this and think about it some more, and maybe she'll come back to me in a day or so with some feedback. But it was a really beautiful reading. Really nice to be able to see so clearly an answer to someone's question straight away. Who am I without a goal? Who am I without a goal? Bang, you're an empath. Okay, this is what you need to do. But I want to do this. Okay, so that fits with that. This is the beautiful thing about tarot. It really shows us our path from an angel's eye view, if you like. When you when one looks at one's own life, it's very difficult to see the wood from the trees because everything's so close and in your face. And by looking at your life through the tarot, you're able to kind of take a distance of you and see all the different elements. And this was very, very helpful for her. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this is useful for you, whether you're studying tarot or whether you're working through similar things yourself. I really hope that the video is useful for you. And if you have any questions and you would like to raise some issues or have a reading made public, if you like this, and obviously I'm not going to publish anybody's name or details or show photos of these people. I would like to keep everyone's privacy sacred. But if there's anything that you'd like to discuss, we can create a little forum like this for that to happen. You can send me your questions, and I'll very happily do even a live reading for you here, and we can share this so that everyone can benefit and learn from these experiences. Anyway, thank you again for your attention, and wish you many blessings for your life. Bless your heart, and thank you.